Hey everyone. So XRP yield is on its way. And guys, this could literally be the biggest unlock of idle liquidity we've ever seen in crypto. I mean, think about it. We're looking at a $3,920,000,000,000 since market cap right now, and the whole market sitting pretty with a percent gain. Bitcoin's absolutely crushing it at $111,000 plus right now. Ethereum also killing it at $4,200 plus. And honestly, it's practically banging down the door to $4,300. Now, here's where it gets interesting. XRP's holding that number 3 spot strong at $283. We're seeing a solid 1% bump in the last 24 hours and a steady 0.5% over the week. Look, I know we got to be smart about what we call progress, but honestly, I'm feeling pretty good about this news, folks. We're basically trapped in this $280 to $284 cage right now. But here's the kicker. We're chilling at the absolute top of that cage. Now, as we're about to dive headfirst into another wild work week, things could get spicy. Here's what's got me on the edge of my seat. Will those Korean traders pull an all-nighter tonight and just launch this baby into orbit? Look, I wish I had a crystal ball, but I don't. What I can promise you, though, you're about to have your mind blown by this video and all the incredible intel we're unpacking today. We're talking about Soil today. So I've been digging around trying to figure out who's actually running Soil. Haven't cracked that code yet, but check this out. What we do know is pretty massive. We're looking at what they call an institutional grade yield protocol that's launching natively on the XRP ledger. And get this, it's backed by some serious players: Ripple, Securitize, BlackRock, and Hamilton Lane funds. I mean, we're talking about some absolutely massive money behind this thing, people. But here's what's got me really curious. That 7% number. That's the golden question right there. That's exactly what I'm trying to wrap my head around. Come on, break it down for me. What's the deal with that 7%? I need the details, the inside scoop. And yeah, there's this little reminder sitting right here too. Flair's been grinding away for ages now, just keeping his head down and pushing through the work. Big shout out to Hugo too. Look, if you've been riding with this channel for a while, you know we've been tight with ETHgate, right? We've been out here calling out what we seriously think is straight up corruption happening inside the SEC, all those free passes and shady dealings that came with it. And here's the thing, that's exactly why we haven't been talking about DeFi, meme coins, any of that stuff on this channel. It's been completely off limits because guess what? We know there are some very powerful eyes watching us right now. And trust me, they are not happy about all the stuff we've been exposing. I'm talking about myself for sure, and tons of other people fighting the good fight in this space. We've really stirred things up, and now we're feeling the heat. Huge respect to all the American patriots who literally put everything on the line for this. Some who didn't make it, others ready to go down swinging. But guess what? We're still here, still fighting. Now, look, I've been keeping my head down on this whole thing, and here's why. When Gary Gensler and the Biden crew were running the show, they were coming after everyone. Didn't matter if you were squeaky clean or not. Trust me, we felt that heat firsthand. But here's the thing. I genuinely think our moment has arrived. For people like Hugo, for Flare Networks, for the entire DeFi space, this is it, guys. We're about to watch something absolutely incredible unfold. And honestly, it's going to be such a wild ride. So buckle up and listen to this.
We are seeing some of these DAT companies, digital asset treasury companies out there, obviously Vivo being one of them. But you guys are doing something specific around yield generation. Can you talk about that?
So one of the most important aspects of a DAT company is you want to be able to grow your stake in the network. Let's say in this instance, it's XRP. You don't want to have to keep raising money in order to increase your position. You know, you raise money when your equity value is higher than your net asset value. There's lots of routes to do it, but largely a lot of people have done offerings when their equity value is higher than their net asset value. But an alternative way to do it is if you have an asset that yields, you can convert that yield back into the currency of your choice. You know, if you've got XRP and you can derive, let's say, 8%, then your treasury, your balance is increasing at 8% per year, which is a very good way to do it. So we were talking with Vivo Power. They like what Flare is doing. They like what Firelight is doing. They like our downstream DeFi ecosystem from staking. They decided to commit $100 million of XRP to the Flare ecosystem.
So do you feel like this is going to be one of the tool sets that institutional capital could come in and say, hey, this is a great example of how XRP can be put to work? Do you anticipate more companies kind of joining what Vivo is doing and starting to use Flare as the outlet?
Absolutely. Okay. We think that one of the larger sort of opportunities for Flare in the space is digital asset treasury companies like Vivo that hold XRP, and there are a few, but Vivo's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, but exchanges as well, because I think around 80% of people that hold XRP are holding their XRP on an exchange. And exchanges want to be able to offer their customers a way to get yield on the tokens they're holding. So, really our focus in business development around the DeFi ecosystem for XRP on Flare and for Firelight has been around courting exchanges. And then, of course, having other types of vaults, not Firelight. So one of the things that's quite nice and a huge differentiator between the vaults that currently exist on XRP and the vaults that can exist on a smart contract chain like Flare is that the vaults for XRP naturally go and get their economic exposure through a centralized exchange. The problem with that is they have a counterparty risk. They have a counterparty risk with that centralized exchange, meaning if that centralized exchange goes bankrupt, then the money that vault provider has put on that centralized exchange may be lost. And that's rather unpleasant, and we've seen that before. In fact, we've seen it many times in our industry. One of the things about vaults with regards to Flare DeFi, and there will be vault offerings for Flare DeFi specifically that are separate from Firelight. One of the things about vaults that can use Flare DeFi is those strategies can be carried out entirely on chain, and therefore you don't have the same exposure to the credit of the exchange. And this means that you're using a DEX, an on-chain lending protocol, an on-chain finance protocol. And so whilst there is still economic risk with regards to the markets, the price risk, or liquidation risk, you don't have the same risk, counterparty risk. And this is quite nice relative to the vaults that currently exist on XRP.
Oh, dude, I've got to keep it real with you. I am literally losing my mind over how epic this is getting. And honestly, I'm convinced we're literally about to witness the most ridiculous EID liquidity explosion for XRP ever. The legislation's dropping, that market infrastructure bill's hitting, and everything's going to be pure green across the board. Now, peep this. Let me throw you back to the absolute bombshell news that dropped this week. We witnessed Ripple straight up conquering Africa and sliding right in there, pushing RLUSD through Yellow Card, Valarin, plus that other platform. But yo, check out this clip real quick. Now, heads up, there's some background music playing. I'm pretty sure we're cool in the copyright front, but just in case things get sketchy and I got to chop it out later, I wanted to throw that disclaimer at you first. Let's dive in and listen to this thing.
Rewiring financial infrastructure in a way that's good for society.
Breaking news, guys. Ripple just launched their US dollar-backed digital stablecoin, RLUSD, in Africa. And this is absolutely monumental because they partner with African giants, Chipper Cash, Yellow Card, and Valor. Between those three, they move billions of dollars and touch millions of users across the continent. And Africa is a prime market because they have one of the youngest and fastest growing populations in the world. However, but when you dig in, you'll find out that their banking system is kind of broken. Their local currencies inflate, they have slow cross-border wires, and their fees eat people alive. But this move by Ripple is bypassing banks altogether, building a parallel dollar system on chain, powered by the same Ripple network that runs on XRP. So guys, if you zoom out, Ripple's doing this in Africa, but you're going to start seeing this more and more around the world. And this is what I call a prime example of laying down the plumbing, with XRP as the native token.
Well, we think by unlocking those kind of economic borders, the friction that exists today, people who are unbanked can become more banked. There's some people who can hold crypto and transact that don't have a bank account.
No doubt about it whatsoever. And I'm going to pause it right there just to be safe with that background music situation. But dude, Valar, Chipper Cash, and Yellow Card are all jumping on Ripple's RLUSD train to completely dominate Africa. And listen, this thing is about to explode to tens of millions of people. I'm talking like 60 or 90 million users through mobile apps alone. Plus, we're looking at 130 plus countries getting access to this beast of a network. This stuff is absolutely mind-blowing. So there's honestly a ton of moving pieces here, and I had to bring this up again because we're literally watching a perfect storm happening right before our eyes. And I want to keep riding this wave with you guys. Now let's jump into what Robinhood's CEO Vlad Tenev just dropped on us about what's coming next. Dude straight up said we need to start looking way beyond Bitcoin and meme coins.
I believe it will make it easier to invest in American companies if you're outside the world. It will also bring the markets into 24/7 and fully on-chain and get all the benefits that crypto technology levies on these traditional assets. So I think it's time to move beyond Bitcoin and meme coins into real world assets that exhibit fundamental utility.
So we're diving into fundamental utility and real world assets today. This is the good stuff, people. And honestly, I'm completely baffled by the Bitcoin maximalists out there. Like, seriously, I just don't get it. Bitcoin seems to exist in its own little bubble, you know? Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to hate on it or anything, but here's what gets me excited. Real world assets. I mean, think about it. Isn't this exactly why Ripple went ahead and acquired Hidden Road and Rail Financial? Come on, that's got to be the play here, right? And doesn't this take you right back to that very first Swell conference in 2017? Remember when Brad Garlinghouse dropped those insights? Man, looking at where we are today, his words couldn't ring more true. It's honestly incredible proof of how Ripple has executed their vision and stuck to their roadmap. I mean, they literally followed through. They actually went out and acquired Hidden Road and Rail Financial, just like the plan suggested they would.
Effect, right? That constantly
exactly. I mean, ultimately, as you know, Ripple is really focused on how do we enable an internet of value? How do we make value move the way information moves today? And that's our big kind of multi-year, 10-year view of how the world will evolve. And it's really how do we dial that back and to make it tactical and real today and tomorrow. And I think if you want to enable an internet of value, you've got to connect the repositories of value. Right. And the repositories of value, as big as the Bitcoin value proposition is today, the banks own trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars of assets. So if we want to enable an internet of value, we've got to connect the banks and payment service providers and MSBs. And we're excited to have made a bunch of progress on that.
So how are you feeling with the conference so far? This is the inaugural event for this. We'll talk about the timing and some other things that are happening in Toronto, but overall, how do you think the conference has gone after your first day?
Look, I'm thrilled, and I will admit, there's a certain nervousness when you have your inaugural event. Things running smoothly, are people going to show up? Yesterday we had kind of our lead keynote with Ben Bernanke, interviewed by Gene Sperling.
I was going to come there, by the way. So if you're going to have your first event, Ben Bernanke, nice. You got you got Sir Tim Berners-Lee coming up. You've got Don Tascott.
You have Stefan Thomas and Vitalik this afternoon. That should be great.
Yeah, you when you look at the speaker list and the buzz that we've heard maybe at a different conference that's going on, which we will talk about. Well done. Right?
Thank you.
The way to do a conference.
So as for the inaugural event, I'm thrilled. I think
if you want to create a true global reserve currency, you absolutely need to connect every major repository around the world to get that massive liquidity flowing, right? I mean, think about it. That's literally the secret sauce right there. And guess what that means? Swift is totally in the game here. We've already got Swift GPI doing its thing. Plus, we've got Ripple Payments making moves in this space too. They've been shouting from the rooftops, we're not here to demolish Swift, okay? But here's where it gets juicy. Swift has officially hit that if you can't beat them, join them moment. So at this crazy recent Apex gathering, I'm talking hot off the press here, Brad Garlinghouse drops by and absolutely nails this question. Now, I'm dying to show you this footage, but the background music kills it for copyright. Anyway, someone asks him the $1 million question about Swift adoption in 5 years. And his answer, pure fire. He basically says, forget the messaging drama. It's all about that sweet, sweet liquidity flow. So get this, he's basically saying that in just 5 years, they're projecting to capture a massive 14% of Swift's entire business. I mean, think about that for a second. We're talking about XRP Ledger potentially handling 14% of the whole Swift system. And look, they're not even hiding it anymore. In these videos I've been showing you, they straight up say the alternative to Swift is Ripple. This isn't some conspiracy theory. This is the new technology we're looking at. The alternative to Swift, Ripple. The breakthrough technology everyone's buzzing about, Ripple. I'm literally just breaking down what's happening right in front of us, guys. To get the massive liquidity needed for the volume they're targeting, you've got to link up every major repository around the globe, guys. And check this out. Here's an awesome clip from Apex Crypto Consulting. Not financial advice, by the way. We seriously need to follow this dude. This guy absolutely kills it on his channel. And hey, Apex, one day I'm totally getting you on here for an interview. Things have just been absolutely crazy lately. I am dying to sit down and just vibe with you, man. And trust me, when we finally make this happen, it's going to be absolutely on fire. But right now, my life is like a beautiful tornado. Everything's exploding in the best possible way. I'm talking pure scheduling chaos here, guys. So please don't hate me for this. We are making this happen, though. I'm giving you my word. And honestly, I'm practically bouncing off the walls thinking about it because you're straight up genius level smart. Now, feast your eyes on this clip and peep all these insane connections in this photo. From the IMF World Bank meeting, Brad Garlinghouse is right there in the mix with all these absolute powerhouses.
And again, these are all major. This guy right here is Rob Pelletnick. He's the managing director and chief technology architect at the DTCC, the Depository Trust Corporation Company. They settled, I think this year estimates are they're going to settle, I think, 3,600 trillion. So 3.6 quadrillion in settlements per year. This is DTCC right here. And then,
so check this out. Christine Lagarde, you know her, right? She's running the show over at the ECB now, the European Central Bank. But back then, she was the big boss at the IMF, calling all the shots there. Now, here's where it gets really wild, guys. The DDC just drops this bombshell. They're saying they can tokenize $100 trillion worth of assets. Just like that. No permission needed from anybody. Can you believe that? And get this timing. It's absolutely perfect. Right when this is happening, Ripple's newest edition, Hidden Road, gets their golden ticket. They're getting licensed and approved to help settle everything. This isn't a coincidence, folks. Look at this date, March 11, 2025. That's when Hidden Road officially gets cleared to work with the Government Securities Division's netting system. Oh, there's your smoking gun, my friends. This is what we've been talking about all along.
The CEO, Frank LaSala, and the board had foresight that, hey, this is a disruptive technology that can fundamentally change the way we do business. We need to harness it, that technology. So they acquired Securrency not as the only technology, but as a foundation, especially a foundation for how you do regulated assets, on which we could blend together the other technologies, distributed ledgers, smart contract frameworks, tokenization frameworks, to create a coherent marketplace. So they were forward-leaning in that model. As I mentioned to you, the one right to win that DTCC has in this model is we are the record keeper for quadrillions of dollars of transactions, but for fundamentally assets under record, approximately $100 trillion worth of assets. So unilaterally, without the need to engage anyone else, we can actually make it possible to tokenize $100 trillion worth of value. No one else can do that efficiently. So we have both a right and a responsibility to do that effectively for the financial markets, because it unlocks so much among those things that it unlocks. So we're building out those rails to do that, to make it so that parties can, within seconds, convert any traditional holding into token form to conduct transactions.
Okay, so here's a question I want to throw at you, and this is a big one. Who else do you know that's connected to the DTCC the same way Ripple and Hidden Road are? We're talking about tokenizing a mind-blowing $100 trillion in securities here, not just settling them. I'm going to give you a moment to think about that one. Seriously, take your time with this, because if you really understand what's happening in this space, you'll get why this matters so much. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, and shout out to Cowboy Crypto for breaking this down. We're looking at all these US licenses and regulatory disclosures from Roll Financial, and guess what just happened? Ripple swooped in and acquired them. This isn't just some random business move, folks. This is strategic positioning at its finest in the financial world. Oh my gosh, guys, this list is absolutely mind-blowing. Like, seriously, just look at it. It's completely incredible. Big shout out to Cowboy Crypto, total OG right there. You definitely know what I'm talking about. Here's what's really going on though, and this is huge. Ripple isn't buying Hidden Roll Financial because they can't get that banking license. Actually, it's the complete opposite. They're snatching up these companies because they're absolutely going to get that banking license. And here's the kicker. Who else has those connections to the DTCC to help them settle that massive $100 trillion in tokenized assets? They're literally going to do this without asking anyone. Who else is going to ride to their rescue, right? Look, this is exactly why everyone's throwing shade at us. And I mean everyone, because building this massive new global money machine with every single dollar on earth, yeah, that means plugging in every treasure vault across the planet. And where's all this cold, hard cash just chilling, completely frozen solid, trapped inside securities, stocks, bonds, equities, the whole shebang? That's what we're really diving into today. And here's the kicker. They're already turning all this stuff into digital tokens for everyone as we speak. They built the entire market backbone for everyone. And I mean everyone. You seriously think they're going to ditch that and hunt for some random tokenization service? Absolutely not going to happen, folks. Zero chance, am I right? So, hey, if you're wondering why the Bitcoin maxis are breathing fire down our necks, this is why. And if you're still asking yourself why, getting all these real world assets tokenized on Ledger is such a game changer. It's because that's how we supercharge the liquidity flow to shuffle this incredible value around the globe. All right, guys, let's dive into what's happening with these charts. So looking at XRP on the daily time frame, and this is pretty exciting. We're actually setting up for a potential retest of that major $3 weekly resistance. The RSI is starting to look really bullish here, which has me pretty optimistic. Now, here's what I'm seeing with support levels. We've got this key 285 level that we identified as our primary support zone. Right now, we're basically just dancing right underneath it. And you can see how it's flipped to act as resistance. Totally normal behavior, nothing weird there. So here's what could happen next. We might see a little dip down to that 274 level, but honestly, I think there's a good chance we hold here and actually push through that 285 resistance. That would be a really strong signal. So this is exactly where we're sitting right now. The upside is literally right in front of us. Let's jump into the next chart here. Big shout out to my buddy Ripple in Wales. Seriously, this guy crushes it with his analysis. So definitely go give him a follow if you're not already. Now check this out. XRP, no matter how you slice and dice this chart, it is screaming bullish signals at us. This thing is absolutely primed and ready to go. Just look at this beauty right here, man. I'm telling you, let this baby run and do its thing. When I see a setup this clean, I become patient as heck. I mean, I'm literally over here counting pennies, trying to figure out how I can stack more XRP before this rocket takes off. And then Steph Crypto drops this incredible chart that shows we could actually blast through resistance and get completely overextended, just like we've witnessed in XRP's wild history before. This could get absolutely insane. And if it does, boom, this is where we hit that juicy $30 to $40 zone that's got everyone's attention. I mean, EGRD Crypto has been screaming about this overextended madness. And guys, they might just be onto pure gold here. Listen up, you've got to stay ready for anything and everything in this game. But hey, does that mean it's definitely happening? Come on, you know better than that. But here's the crazy part. These scenarios are totally within reach, and we need to understand just how wild things can actually get. Check this out. EGRD Crypto just dropped this absolutely insane total market cap chart, and they're saying we could hit a mind-blowing $21 trillion peak this cycle. I know, I know, sounds completely nuts, but in crypto, literally anything goes, people. And here's what crypto keeps teaching us over and over again. Impossible doesn't exist in this space. The biggest lesson, when everyone thinks a coin is totally dead and buried, that's exactly when it explodes like fireworks. And XRP, oh man, that's its signature move right there. Listen, even when everyone's calling a project dead and buried, one absolutely insane breakthrough can literally flip the entire game. Remember when governments were basically declaring war on crypto? But plot twist, these gigantic hedge funds swooped in like financial superheroes and said, hold our coffee, while they backed everything up. And now the same government is basically throwing us a welcome party. All right, guys, buckle up because I'm about to blow your minds with some chart magic. I've been diving deep into historical data and market psychology, and let me tell you, these parabolic explosions aren't just random chaos. December 2017, total market cap went absolutely bonkers with an 800% rocket ship launch straight from that yellow resistance zone. Then December 2020 delivered a solid 400% pump, which was actually 50% smaller than that previous legendary cycle. Let's talk numbers. If this market cap momentum keeps building and we nail that juicy 50% December 2025 rally, brace yourselves for a wild 200% explosion that launches us into the $21 trillion territory. But wait, here's where it gets spicy. Could this entire crypto revolution be secretly fueling the whole Make America Great Again movement? Honestly, my guts tell me that's precisely the game plan unfolding. All right, legends, Sunday vibes are strong, and I'll be back with more fire content soon.